low load plyometrics is skipping. We've forgotten how to do it. I'll get people that skip and go, oh, how do I skip again? How to do it, but we learn to do it at an early age, because as we go from rolling to crawling to standing to creeping, and then we start working on like walking and falling, you know, as you start getting a narrow base of support, then what do you see kids do at age 3, 4 is, oh, you see them going in and skipping. That's a very low level plyometric. That's how kids learn to jump, because they start with the skip, then they go to maybe a bound or maybe one-legged, then they go to a long jump. They don't really think about, oh, I need to dunk that 10-foot basketball goal. So skipping is fundamental. You don't have to like get way up. The idea is to dunk a basketball. It's just loading up gently plyometrics. So low-level skipping, it doesn't have to be skip a mile, right? It can be skip the length of this room, something really, really easy. The next thing I'll do is two-legged hopping, right? So two-legged, can I get into? So I got an arm swing. I got a nice, soft, quiet landing. So I'm teaching deceleration, which is important with running, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to hear with your running. You don't want to hear it with your landing either. If I'm doing two-legged, I want to hear quiet. So that tells me I'm good at absorbing shock and forces.
All right, so we have things like skipping. We have like a double-legged little hop with a very soft landing, right? Because we're really trying to control the ground reaction forces as we hit the ground. But there's some other really cool fundamental things that we can do to improve our running gait. And I have you show us like circular walking, sidestepping, you know,
trump walking.
Yeah, multi-actual type of things. So I know there's a whole little piece right here. So I'm going to walk off frame here, and I'll let you go ahead and show that to us.
So the whole reason for doing a lot of this stuff is, how do I create mobility? How do I create flow with foot and ankle? You're not always going to be on a flat terrain surface whenever you're running. So I got a special guest star. Yeah, just my special guest star. He's my Vanna White. He's not going to turn letters, though. We're going to turn feet and ankles. And so I'm going to just show you the S-walk. It doesn't have to be fast. The sharper you turn the S, the more slaloming you have in the pronation and supination. Yes. And so the S-walk, if I want to make it nice and easy, it's going to be this big circle pattern, right? Okay. If I want to make it nice and tight, I want to create this nice turn, and I'm not holding on to my feet or my waist. I want to create this nice S-walk. And one of the things you'll start to feel is, oh, I feel my heel, I feel my calf, gastroc, I feel ankle, I feel foot. So go ahead and give a couple of S-walks a try, see what you think about that.
Yeah.
There you go. So now the other thing I like to add, Jeff, is when you come back around, you get to me, run it in reverse. So backwards now. So I'm not sure if you heard, so you got to go backwards, right? So you have to rely on what you feel now versus what you see now. So you're going to be very reliant on that foot. Can I feel my foot? What do I feel with that foot and calf? See how much more challenging that is?
Yes.
Yeah, so now we've got a good base of exercise. So there's your figure 8 or your S-walk. Good. And so I'm still getting that heel bone or calcaneus going to inversion, eversion, right?
Yes.
So now the next one I want to go to is, I want to do circle walk. Since you're already good with the S, all I want you to do is, this is big circle, right? So I'm still going to get the same slaloming in one direction, right? When I complete the circle, I want you to reverse it and do the same thing. And then when you finish it, I'm going to finish it up really fast for you, right? When I finish it, then I'm going to turn around and go the other way. So now I got pronation, supination the other direction.
Right. Okay.
So I sometimes get some of my runners to do this like on their block, and the stuff they tell me is, yeah, my neighbors look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Good, they'll leave you alone. Not bad, right?
Not bad.
Now, put it in reverse. Going backwards. Oh, bad. we as humans are so used to using our eyes for everything. When we go forward, oh yeah, this is fun, this is great. Go backwards, don't like this.
I'm not even sure that was a circle.
So
It's more egg-shaped.
we'll take the breathalyzer later. So now go forward this way. Mm-hmm. Can you start to feel what happens at the foot?
Yes.
Now turn around There you go.
Much more challenging.
I'm gonna step in here too. So one of the interesting things about this, Jeff, and is when you walk backwards, you have to get the hip to open up first.
Yes.
So and you have to lead through the hip. What a lot of people end up doing when they walk is, if you never really think about it, is how do you actually get your first step being taken? And so a lot of times it's a head-led position where people kind of throw themselves a little bit forward and you head lead, and that leads to all sorts of complications. The other thing they do is they tend to lean to the side a little bit. And so when you start that, it's basically now a somewhat controlled fall. But the reality is that we actually should be always starting from the hip. So when we start going backwards, you want to start to get that feeling of what it means to move from the hip, then repeat that same motion as you're going forward. So in that way, you're always starting to maintain a movement that starts more from the core. If it's the best way to describe it, I hate the word core because it's about tightening up, but you're not. You're actually moving from here and more distally, and that actually is going to improve how the whole body moves and less injury prevention. Yeah, or less injury. You know.
I felt it mostly in my ankle, and maybe that's because I don't have enough mobility.
Yes, and that's one of the things we covered. You'll see it in the video, but that's, like I said, a good way to start to activate that foot and ankle in a movement pattern. And one of the things that I know we covered, there's your transverse plane, right? Circular motion. Nobody trains in transverse plane. Things you can also start to do to work on mobilizing that foot and ankle is working on like stationary, grocery gymnastics.
Yeah. And when you're going back into, I think you say you want to do some running or some jogging or some walking, and when you're going around corners and that type of, this is where it all matters. This is where you're going to be able to maintain an off. That's without that ability to do it, the body is going to find some compensatory technique that isn't exactly the most efficient way of doing it, or can cause some issues of hip bursitis and some of the other things that you have to deal with later on.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, and believe it or not, like one of the things I do work with is an older population. Most of my people are pretty much 55 and older. I've got my 70-year-old who is deadlifting. I've got video of her skipping through the park with her husband, going forward, sideways, and it's a lot of the stuff that they go, oh, this is actually fun. This is an exercise. So that's some of the stuff you can do at home that isn't necessarily, you have to put like, okay, I got to think about stability. I got to breathe, ribs, hips down. This is, okay, what do I feel? Can I open up with that hip?
Yeah.
And this is very important. Some of the surfaces that I'm looking to run on are uneven, like at Memorial Park.
Right.
And you have to have that kind of mobility and
in that foot and ankle. Otherwise,
I think every surface in Houston I've been on it's more like I need a
pretty much
rather than a
pretty
car.
much.
especially if you run in the street. It's never easy.
No, not
So you want to see frontal plane light plyometric?